Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. All praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to Apostle Great Millstone, salutations to elect pushing his truth. So in today's video, I want to get to the Gentiles, all right, part 2. All right, so like in the other video, I was talking about and stressing how there's 2 different types of Gentiles being described in the scriptures, all right. There's the Gentiles, okay, that's from the other nations, born of the other nations, all right, naturally, okay, so they're completely different, they're non-Israelites, all right, and then there's Gentiles, all right, which is Israelites, but they're Hellenistic, okay, they're Hellenized, all right, so it's the Israelites that fall away from the customs, all right, fall away from the teachings, all right. So these 2 definitions, all right, you need to know that, all right. Now the thing is, the apostles, all right, the disciples that went to preach to the Gentiles, those Gentiles, okay, is the Israelite foreigners, all right. It's the Israelites that are behaving like Greeks, behaving like Romans, all right. It's those people, okay. All right, so that's the case. Okay, the Most High didn't just all of a sudden switch over and cared about the other nations. All right, he didn't just all of a sudden care about Japhet. All right, it's not random like that. All right, from the Old Testament, okay, he only cared about Israel. Okay, he only dealt with Israel. All right, he only gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to Israel, the service to Israel. He promised things to only the line of the Israelites. All right, now all of a sudden he didn't just switch it up and give it to all these different other nations, all right? So let's get some more scriptures to prove that, okay? All right, so let's get, the book of Acts, all right? Acts, chapter 11, verse 19. All right, so it says, okay, it says, now they which were scattered abroad, okay, upon the persecution that arose about Stephen, traveled as far as Phineas and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only. All right, so all these different nations you keep hearing, all right, when you hear Cyprus or you hear these different lands, okay, you see how he went to those different lands, but he didn't preach to the natural born Gentiles, all right, he preached to the Jews only. That's what it said, all right. In the beginning of the scriptures, talk about the scattered abroad. Okay, we know through the prophecy, okay, through the curse, that the Israelites were scattered abroad. All right, so that means that they're everywhere in the earth. Okay, so if they're everywhere on the earth, all right, and some of them are not behaving like Israelites because they're not in the homeland, okay, because they're scattered, all right, then that means that obviously they're still Jews, okay, they're still Israelites, okay, so that's who they're preaching to. And it says blatantly right here, it says that he went to these different areas, okay, Cyprus, Antioch, okay, and he preached, okay, only to the Jews, all right. I mean, this is plain right here, okay, and it's talking about scattered abroad. The other nations weren't scattered abroad, all right. So if you look at the context, because everyone keeps asking about context scriptures, if you look at the context, okay, this is blatant, all right. So let's get more scriptures. All right. So let's get the book of Isaiah. All right. Book of Isaiah, chapter 11. All right. And we can start at verse 1, okay? And it says, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, all right? And a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall raise upon him the spirit of the wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel, the might, and the spirit of knowledge, and the fear of the Lord, and shall make him to quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, near reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with the righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove them in iniquity, all right, for the meek of the earth, all right. Let's see. Okay, that's not the one. Let's go to 10. All right, so this is Isaiah chapter 10, and we'll start at 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is mighty indignation. I will send him across against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of his wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the street. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doeth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. Okay? And it says, for he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Karsemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Sumeria as Demetrius? Okay, so let's talk about a whole bunch of nations, all right? And it says, shall I do not as I shall do, shall I not as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols. Okay, it says, wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the sought heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. And for he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put them inhabitants. Look, a vanity man. Okay, so if you continue to read, okay, it's basically continue to talk about all these different nations. Okay, it says how he's going to help and be saving different. Basically says he's going to save nations, but in the same scripture, it said that he's going to be destroying nations. Okay, so how the hell you could be saving nations and destroying them at the same time? Okay, so it's basically talking right here how it's showing how sometimes Israelites are named under a nation if they're a foreigner. Okay, because Paul, right, he was a Roman. Okay, but he wasn't actually a Roman. All right, he was an Israelite. Okay, but they call him a Roman. So some Israelites were called after different places they were at, but they weren't actually those places, all right? So if they were called, if they were called a Greek, doesn't mean they're actually Greek, okay? If they were called a Persian, doesn't mean they're actually a Persian, okay? Just because that's where they were, all right? But they're actually Israelites at the end of the day. So right here, it's naming people to be saved because those are foreigners, okay? It's people from different areas, different nations, all right? Okay? So in this particular scripture, all right, at the same time, it's talking about the natural other nations, how that he's going to destroy them, and he's talking about different people, okay, that he's actually going to be saving, all right? But they're just under a different name, but they're actually Israelites. All right, so let's get some more. This is Ephesians. Chapter 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcised. Okay, so that uncircumcision is the Israelite foreigners. Okay, being called Gentiles. Okay, and said that you were called Gentiles in the past. Okay, so when they accept, now they're considered part of the family in terms of now they're Israelites, okay? But they always been Israelites by the seed, okay? But because they were acting like different nations, all right, they were considered cut off, uncircumcised, considered Gentiles, okay? So it says, who are called uncircumcised, but that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hand. All right, so the circumcised, the ones that knew, okay, that weren't the ones that actually knew about the Most High, okay, they were discriminating against the uncircumcised. All right, they were discriminating against the ones that didn't know, okay. But it says right here that at that time ye without Christ, okay, being aliens from commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. Okay, it says having no hope and without God in the world. Okay, so commonwealth. Okay, and the covenants and the promise is only for Israelites. All right, so this is blatantly talking about the people that are cut off. Okay, the people that went off into different nations, or the ones that are scattered. Those people, all right, obviously because they're scattered and they're behaving like other people, they didn't know about certain promises and certain covenants in the commonwealth of Israel. Okay, this is not talking about other nations. Okay, the other nations had nothing to do with us. This is talking about the people that cut off. All right, so obviously they didn't have the commonwealth and the assets that Israel has. Okay, the promises and the covenants. They didn't know about them. Okay. It's not talking about some random other nation. All right. When it says Gentiles right here and uncircumcised, talk about those guys that didn't know. Okay. So I'll end off from that. So I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.